Another banger.
What's up, YouTube? Imagine moving 40-foot containers across war zones. Then one day, swapping it all for cargo vans and corporate contracts. That's Anthony's story. From West Point to the front lines of logistics, disciplined hit his entire career.
Many more things we can touch on. So, for a young person listening who wants financial independence, what lessons from logistics can they apply even outside this industry?
I would say, I kind of talked about it a little bit, like it's luck. Maybe it's not the best way to put it. It's, there's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of lessons learned. Another thought that just came to my mind, a lot of times you just kind of hear, oh, what's all the good stories, right? But there's a lot of ups and downs, and I think you have to be resilient. You have to persevere because not everything is going to be handed to you, or it's not always going to be an easy day. So you have to always be humble and just understand. Sometimes, like I used to say, like, if you think you've hit the bottom, you can still go further. But there's a lot of good things that happen too. I mean, so it's a lot of ups and downs, but you've got to always, you can't be complacent. You have to always focus.
Okay, I do like that. So again, guys, business is tough. Business is brutal. And if you don't have a backup plan, some funds saved up for emergency, things will definitely hit you from left flank. And, as in myself and Anthony included, we've had our own businesses, and the challenge is legitimate, So I think in logistics, I've heard somebody say that you only one breakdown away from like being out of business, So especially as a small company, if you have a bunch of things going wrong, it can definitely be a little bit tricky. So Anthony, if someone listening wants to take today and wants to take action, what's one step they should take immediately?
So for me, that's easy. I would say, if you're interested in getting into a specific kind of business, seek out those people that are doing it today, because you'd be surprised, especially when it comes to small business owners like myself. You'd be surprised how giving and sharing people will be. But yeah, if you're interested in it, seek out those people that are doing it, and I'm telling you, if you talk to the right people, they will definitely help you out. And as I say that, I think of all the people that helped me out and still help me out. We don't know all the answers, but you gotta find those people out, find them, they're there.
I like that a lot. I think mentorship, I'm going to put that as my number 4 on the list, just because I think, to your point, it's so important, and it's not just in business, honestly. I feel like it's something, well, I don't feel like, I know for a fact outside of business, when it comes to like our careers as well, I'm sure like even in the Army for you probably have some mentors that you look up to and kind of, run things by. Same thing with corporate, we worked with you. And so it's the same thing where you actually do need people who can actually infuse some of that knowledge into you. That way you can not make the mistake that they made, but you can actually learn from them and actually, be a little bit better and make hopefully different mistakes where you can learn from yourself. Absolutely. Now, Anthony, another question for you, man. Logistics and kind of where things are right now, we're having a fairly broad conversation, but what is the future of logistics? What are some things that you can kind of see in terms of headwinds coming up? So again, back to like that individual thinking, hey, I'm watching these guys today. What are some things that I should be thinking about right now besides mentorship, but, that I should maybe try and get into, So I'm doing some research, and it would appear that a lot of the jobs that I mean, we have almost like, I feel like a lot of the jobs that were done by our parents are going away right now, So when it comes to a lot of like the automation in terms of even in the industry itself, I think people are probably a little bit scared of, what actually is coming next, So as a business owner, for you and your companies, what are you thinking about? How should I pivot in order to survive the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I would say for me, when it comes to, you just think about, how have things been transported or delivered for, I mean, more than 100 years kind of thing. that's kind of for me, that's the fundamentals. But there's a lot of new things. Like I'm just amazed at what drone technology has come to. I mean, think about what the possibilities are. I mean, what kind of high critical type item that someone might need. If you really need something in an emergency, I mean, how easy could it be to put it on a commercial drone and drop it off? But you also have to think logically. Like, I mean, there's so many like my business delivers thousands of packages a day. You're not going to have probably like 100,000 drones flying in your neighborhood. That would actually be quite a scary thought, I would think. But I think about those things. But what if you really need an iPhone charger or something? I mean, who knows? Maybe you need like some kind of medicine for your child. But I think about those things. How can that technology be used for something that's just really like, hey, I gotta have it now. I'm in a really hard place to get it.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. Yeah, I feel like things are definitely going to. I mean, things are definitely going to change. Now, let's rewind just a little bit, Anthony. I think the pandemic for a lot of people was extremely stressful. All right. Now, in your industry, I would imagine it was probably pretty okay because if you're doing a lot of deliveries, you're not really like interacting with the people all the time, and people were really shopping like crazy at the time. So I know logistics was booming. So when it comes to trucking, I mean, people were getting paid $4 or $5 a mile to move freight, which was insane. So how was that period for you in your company?
So 2020 was wild. I'll describe it. So I want to say my business probably quadrupled in from January to December in 1 year, if you can believe that.
Yep.
And quadruple, just like think about the volume of work. With that came a lot of challenges. So I mean, to think about to grow that fast in that short amount of time, you think about the risks, safety. So us in transportation, like we've got to think about accidents. Kuya earlier you said, you know, uh, I'm just like one whatever away from think about a catastrophic accident. So maintenance costs. There's a lot of operational expense that goes up when you grow that fast. You kind of you can't outrun your capital. So I mean, you have to think about how can I grow in a way that can make it happen. Growth, controlled growth is good, but if you have uncontrolled growth, that can pose a lot of challenges.
That's pretty interesting. After that explosion of growth like that whole year, how did you actually like ramp down? Because I can imagine some people probably like in the company were probably thinking, man, I'm going to be working 60, 70 hours, getting overtime pay. And the thing with human beings, even better than the pandemic, is like when you give people free money and things like work from home, anything that is like an ad, quote unquote, to people is tough to take away. So how did you make that shift, from just like going bonkers for a whole year to like, getting back to, quote unquote, normal?
So, and for us, you think about how you as a consumer, think about how you spend spend your money throughout the year, right? So it kind of follows the retail cycle. So for us, the good news for us is every year, I mean, first quarter of the work is kind of goes down, but then come around tax season, like April timeframe for us, spring, it starts kind of getting up. And then, as you go towards the end of the year, there's a lot of holiday type shopping. So for us, I had to learn how to expand and contract. So for me, it was a lot of lessons learned. So, after doing it for so many years, I like to think I'm getting better every year, but you gotta watch. You always have to watch you know, what's the revenue coming in, what's your operational expense. You really got to watch that, and I didn't really fully understand that concept and the cash flow part of it until you actually experience. I mean, it's one thing to learn it in a textbook, but it's another thing to really see it impacted in your own business.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. I like that, being able to kind of contract and expand at will. So now we can have a little bit of fun, I suppose quick hit questions, Anthony. All right. Let's see what you get. If Let's start with what is the biggest lesson learned in one sentence over the vast 20-year basically career? It could be business or like military.
I would say get back up as fast as you can.
I love that, man. And that's great advice, man. Can't agree more. What is one myth about logistics you want to bust? I think we touched on this a little bit earlier, but before you answer, I feel like people think, because I see this all the time, like I'm in like Reddit posts, Facebook posts sometimes. People are like, man, I got $25,000, right? And, they say, I want to buy a bus truck or I want to buy a semi. And they're not thinking anything beyond like, dude, registering a company, that's a cost. Getting your insurance, that's a cost. You need money, stay laid off for just maintenance costs, just in case things go down. As a new career, especially in logistics, if you're going to buy your own truck anyway, no one is going to work with you. They kind of want longevity in the industry. They don't think about all those things. They're just like, I got this 25 grand, I want to buy a bus truck and start working. The question, I guess, is what is one myth about logistics that you want to bust? For me, I would say, dude, don't get in there unless you're super prepared.
I would say it's almost like Murphy's Law. I mean, I wouldn't go into it thinking that everything's always going to be work out the way you plan. Logistics, a lot of problem solving. There's always a problem to solve. You just and once you think you've seen it all, you'll see something new.
Been there, man. Next question. What motivates you, Anthony? Well, actually, no. That's not the question. What motivates you more, money or freedom?
Oh, definitely freedom. But no, I might be more of a unicorn in that area. For me personally, it's, I'm not driven by the dollar, although, you need the dollar to keep going. So I think that's the part of the money that motivates me. You have a lot of people that depend on you at some level, and that's you need money to take care of those that have done and done a lot for you and work hard. So that's why I say the freedom side of it.
I'm there. I'm right there with you, man. I think, for me, business, my career, it's like a means to an end, ultimately. I would love to be able to, I think there's something about providing for somebody and paying for somebody's, essentially taking care of somebody's family, right? There's something that is just so, it's like a selfish indulgence for me, man. I'm like, damn, like I can actually provide for somebody, And so, and I'm not talking about fun, I'm talking about somebody completely separate from my family. So that's pretty cool. Got two more questions. Are you an early bird or a night owl, sir?
Oh, uh, so I used to feel like I was an early bird, and then I think at some point I kind of am like almost both. Like sometimes I'll sleep a little more, sometimes I won't, but I feel like I started as an early bird and now I'm not so sure.
Age will do that to you, and I think age will also do the reverse to you. And plus, we have kids, so it's like the kids kind of skew your natural, bodily resting times. All right, last question in terms of the rapid fires. What's the first thing you do if you were to start all over again tomorrow?
So I would say I would have talked to more people. I didn't do enough of that in the beginning, but yeah, definitely like my point earlier with reach out to people who are doing what you're trying to do. Don't be shy. I'm telling you, be surprised. People will help you.
I think the same as well. I think I relied on my experience in logistics prior because I had my own truck and then I became an owner operator and then I decided to start the company and employ other people. But I feel like it was not enough, man. Like I should have definitely spoken to a little bit more people to just get like a grasp of the the industry. And so I think I've been doing that more with like some of my newer ideas where I'm like, dude, I'm going to do as much research as I can before I even invest a single dime in it. So I think that's great advice. So Anthony, I believe the conversation today has been amazing. Audience, thank you so much for joining us. If you learned anything today, again, drop a like and a comment. For the next episode, guys, I think, Anthony, we're thinking about discussing operational costs, right? What are some things we can tease for, just to whet the palates of the audience?
So I would say, operational expense. So think insurance, think maintenance, just things that you just normally wouldn't think about that you have to pay for, that you gotta, someone's gotta pay the bill, right?
Most times it's the business owner. Absolutely. So yeah, guys, until next time, stay unbroken, stay learning, and keep building the world that you deserve. Thank you so much, Anthony, for joining us today. We'll catch you in the next one, everybody. Thank you. All right. Easy.